skills for Indonesia. So for Miss Adila and Miss Iran, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. John. I will start share screening. Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all the audience and moderator. It is an honor to be the presenters in the 9th International Language and Language Teaching Conference LLTC 2022. I am Adila Isana Mufidah and Miss Irene Naini Kusamawardani from English Education Study Program, Faculty of Cultural Studies, Brawijaya University, will present our paper by the title Developing Stories as Mindful Learning Materials for Indonesian EFL Learners, and this is what our research has been looking at. There are 4 English skills that are being taught in education curriculum: listening, speaking, writing, and reading skills. Yet, there is a key in mastering all of these skills, that is grammar skills. Sadly, it is common to know that grammar becomes the least liked among the EFL learners. According to study in 2020 by Sowisa and Januarius, all teachers agreed that the students are dealing with various challenges in learning grammar. There are a lot of lack of attention, having no background knowledge, demotivation, etc. Despite the various teaching strategies that the teacher have used, the students are most likely not enjoying the learning grammar process. In other words, there is a need to provide varied approaches and methods in teaching grammar continuously. Thus, these problems from learning English can be overcome by providing grammar learning media that uses a literacy approach using native language. Why is it have to be literacy approach? Because, first of all, there are a lot of challenges in learning grammar, right? We have mentioned that lack of attention, having a background, and demotivation, and those problems lead to one problem, that is the lack of varied material for learning grammar. Secondly, there is a tendency for Indonesian EFL learners, especially young adults, who prefer to read fiction books compared to textbooks. This can be a solution by making literature as a medium for learning English grammar. This is the background of choosing literacy approach as the solution, that is developing stories as the material, and we all know that stories are a part of literature. Before jumping into how, it is important to know what is the context of the literacy that is given as a material? Of course, when developing stories, which is fictional, there should be a topic. In this study, we choose mindfulness as the main topic of the story. Why? Because based on data from Riskasdes 2018 shows the prevalence of mental emotional disorder as indicated by symptoms of depression and anxiety for ages 15 years and over reaches around 6.1% of the total population of Indonesia, or the equivalent of 11 million people. With that, this study is intended to develop a mindful learning material in the form of literature, that is, stories, which brings up the issue of mental health to be a solution for the EFL students' grammar challenges dealing with lack of motivation and the lack of varied materials. The next slide will be explained by Ms. Irene.
Thank you, Adila. Shall we go to the next slide, please? Shall we go to the next slide, please, Adila? Hello? Adila, are you there? Sorry for the inconvenience. I will try to look for the material,
Sorry, I
the
got
PPT. Okay, you're back.
Yes.
Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. So I'd like to share about our view from some literature review related to the story that developed by Aldila here. So the idea to develop the stories related all to mental health issue as mentioned by Aldila, and actually after the pandemic also this issue of mindfulness has been rising, um, and I think it's we cannot leave Kabat-Zinn about this mindfulness what is it a theory that in his opinion the concept of mindfulness, especially in learning, interpreted as an awareness because that's the core of mindfulness itself. So it says when a person pays deliberate attention to the present condition based on curiosity and kindness. So we are moved by this idea and to put this mindful thing into the stories so that the students hopefully can have a more meaningful learning while they are also in the same time studying the grammar or tenses in particular. And also related to the mindfulness, when it's applied in language in learning, there's a MindUp curriculum that developed by Hope Foundation and Columbia University in 2011 that aim at fostering the emotional and social awareness in the academic classroom practices, so that the curriculum is aimed to improve the psychological well-being in education. And another thing that we think also powerful is, of course, the stories itself. I think also this is mentioned by Professor Crescent earlier, that it is indeed the oldest form of human communications. And both of us believe that stories are a powerful tool to learn, especially also in language learning. And in these stories, we actually use the native language. We use Bahasa Indonesia to explain about the concept of tenses. So there are several tenses that will be shown by Aldila later, so that everyone can see about the story. And according to Hall and Cook, actually when we use native language, it has several function, which is the core function when the students learn about grammar and vocabulary, and also the social function to manage the classroom for the teachers. So that's some of our consideration why we use the native language, because many students are still confused about the concept of use of the tenses, English tenses. I personally see this when I teach English as specific purposes in the university, that after the students learn after like 12 years in the school, they still don't understand about the concept of use of tenses. So yeah, that's become our main concern. And next slide, please. And we use the R&D method, mainly by Borg and Gell. And the title of the story that was developed is Berteman Itu Sulit. So we bring the issue of bullying also and mental health in the stories. And there are 5 steps of this process. The first one is the story development, and then the validation, and then the story was published in Wattpad to be read by the readers and the students, and then it's been tried out to 10 to 10 random readers from age 13 to 18 years old. Thank you. Back to Aldila.
Okay. After have the process of story development for 3 months, this is the result. The stories has the title Berteman Itu Sulit with 13 parts of stories. There are 5 tenses included: simple present tense, present continuous tense, simple past tense, past continuous tense, and present perfect tense. Berteman Itu Sulit is about Hana, who is always needed by her classmates, but never as a close friend. It is hard for her to make friends, and all she does is try to help her friends. But she's getting bullied because she has a different opinion with the rest of the class. And this is the result of validation from the expert. The first one is the grammar has 8 score. The media has 85 score. The instrument to collect data for a tryout has 90 scores. And the story shared online and public through Wattpad with the rating setting young adult or for 13 until 18 years old on August 13 with 13 parts of stories. There are 10 random riddles to fill out the tryout questionnaire with this detail for students in the age of 13, for 2 in 14, 1 student 16, 2 students 17, and 1 student 18. And this is the result of the tryout. The first part is the attractiveness of the stories for Indonesian EFL learners. Based on the chart, 100% agreed the stories has interesting topic. Moreover, 80% agreed the plot's balance between simple and complex. And as a way of promoting the stories to be read by students, 90% agreed the cover is attractive and fit the story. And additionally, the font size and line spacing of the story fit 70% of the students' reading habits. Overall, Berteman Itu Sulit has met most of the students' attractions. The next one is perspicuity. In this part, there are 6 questions that are divided into 2 categories. Category number 1 is the accessibility of the stories. It is concluded that all of the students agreed that Berteman Itu Sulit is accessible with 100% agreed for all questions. Category number 2 is relatability of the stories with the students' life context. Based on the chart above, it is concluded that 60% of the students have a similar experience in real life. In other words, the story Berteman Itu Sulit is not fully related to the EFL students' life. Yet, 80% of students agreed that there is a moral value inside the story, especially for their school life. More importantly, 100% of the students agreed that the language in the story is easy to understand. It is a sign that using native language is an important decision. Now, the last one is stimulation towards Berteman Itu Sulit. Based on the chart above, 80% of students unconsciously learn English grammar while reading the stories, while 2 students do not. Then, 70% of the students understand the English grammar inside the story easily. This is a positive result that Berteman Itu Sulit can be used by looking at the excitement of the students. The last question revealed that 80% of the students are motivated to learn English grammar using this kind of story in the future. The conclusion is, due to the demotivation, lack of varied material, and many others challenges in dealing with grammar for EFL learners, the developed stories Berteman Itu Sulit has been produced to be a mindful material for the learners in young adult age. Indonesian EFL learners who tend to like to read fictional stories more than textbooks, and the importance of considering the learner's relation with the context of the stories with their life, Berteman Itu Sulit can help the learners to be able to feel the mindfulness while unconsciously learning grammar. As a result, the contribution of the teacher and publisher in Indonesia's literature aspect is essential. Moreover, there is an urgency to provide various teaching strategies in the learning process. Hence, there might be a need to do further research in the future to implement the material to the learners. Further investigation to use the stories as a material to promote grammar proficiency will extend the theories within using literacy approach and mindfulness as the topic. Before I close this presentation, let us show you the developed stories that are being published in Wattpad. This is one of the scene in part 4 that shows the learning materials. It is about a present perfect, and the last one is the quotes that I like the most in Berteman Itu Sulit is this one. It has been read by more than 100. Should you have any question, critiques, and suggestion, please do not hesitate to contact the moderator for us. Thank you for the time. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Adila and Ms. Iren for the presentation. Now for the participant, if you have any question, you can directly use the raise hand features and propose your question directly to the presenter. No question yet. Maybe I will ask a simple question. Yes, right. While doing your research, Ms. Adila and Ms. Iren, what is the maybe challenges or struggle in doing your research?
Okay, thank you for the question. I personally have the challenges in developing the stories. First of all, I need to learn about the students' school life nowadays to make it relatable to their life context. And then putting the grammar inside the stories might be a big challenge for me because I don't want it to sound like a textbook. I want it to be naturally blended in the stories. So I think that's my big challenge in developing the stories.
Right. Thank you, Miss Adila, for answering my question. Other participants, maybe you have any question? You can ask it directly, or you have suggestion or critiques to the presentation.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, John, because we have remaining time only 23 minutes. If that's okay, we move to the next material,
Okay,
which is
maybe.
yours.
Yeah, I given the time back to the PI staff room 8, Miss Larira.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Now let us
I'm
move.
sorry, Rira. There's one question from the
Oh,
participant.
okay. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe the presenters can answer the question.
Okay. The question is from Adria Vitalia Gemilang. How long did it take to write the story? Yeah, Miss Adila and Miss Iren, you may answer the question from Miss Adria.
Okay. Thank you for the question. I write the stories for 3 months. There are a lot of process in that. The first one is the story development. I need to write down the characters first, the conflicts, and then put the grammar inside. Yeah, it has 3 months to do all of that until it can be published in Wattpad. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Adila. Miss Adria, is that answer your question? All right, if there is no more question, I give the time back to Miss Larira, the PIC room 8. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John. Now let us move to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Mr. John Bretter Ginting and Miss Madhvrida Yulia from Sanata Dharma University, and will be moderated by Miss Aldila Isania Mufida. The time.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Nishala. Then allow me, Aldila, to continue the session as a moderator for the next session. In this session, audience are not allowed to open mic during the presentation. If there is any question, please save it for the Q&A session. And please welcome our speaker, Mr. John Bretter from Sanata Dharma University with his paper, The Utilization of TikTok as the Media to Enhance Vocabulary and Pronunciation in Autonomous Learning. Mr. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Miss Adila. Permission to share screen. Well, thank you for the opportunity given to me. I'm John Bretter Ginting, and today I will present my research collaborated with my advisor, Ms. Madhvrida Yulia, entitled The Utilization of TikTok as the Media to Enhance Vocabulary and Pronunciation in Autonomous Learning. In this digital era, social media are very popular, especially among the young people. Social media are used to share information, to communicate with other people, and to interact with other people around the world. However, social media is not just limited for communication, but can also be used for learning and working, since social media provide flexibility in learning, stimulate innovative and increase interpersonal relationships. And the integration of social media in language learning has been done by many educators, since there have been many research which reveal the use of social media in language learning, which improve the students' academic performance in terms of the language skills and language elements. Additionally, during the COVID-19, TikTok as one of the social media emerges the popularity and become viral among young people. The popularity of TikTok bring the potential of TikTok itself to assist students in language learning, since there are many content creators who produce English language learning videos. Moreover, some previous studies have revealed the use of TikTok in English language learning. Most of the previous studies discuss the use of TikTok to learn English in general and to improve speaking skills. Only few of them discuss the use of TikTok to expand language elements. Furthermore, most of the previous studies are predominantly conducted in the context of classroom learning, and only little is done in the context of autonomous learning. Above all, the use of TikTok from the EFL students' point of view is not yet much research and need to be given more space. Therefore, to fill the gaps, two research questions are formulated. The first one, what are EFL students' perception on the use of TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation independently? Second, how are TikTok used by EFL students to learn vocabulary and pronunciation? In order to answer the first and second research question, a survey method was employed to collect the data. The data were collected using an online questionnaire as the primary instrument and an interview as the follow-up to the questionnaire. ELSP students past 2019 were involved in the studies. There were 46 students who responded to the survey, and the collected data were analyzed using frequency and percentage. Now for the research finding, the first research question, EFL students' perception on the use of TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation independently. There are 6 indicators. The first indicator is the ease of use of TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation. There were 61% and 30% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed in terms of the easy access and utilize the features to explore and to learn the vocabulary and pronunciation learning materials on the TikTok. The availability of the vocabulary and pronunciation learning materials on TikTok and perceive TikTok as the practical tool to learn vocabulary and pronunciation. However, there were 8% and 1% of the respondents who disagreed and strongly disagreed. From the interview, they stated that the vocabulary and pronunciation learning materials will rarely appear since TikTok presented the contents based on the users-like videos. The second indicator, the pace of learning, there were 57% and 20% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed in terms of having control in their learning, setting the goal, watching the vocabulary and pronunciation learning videos several times in order to understand the content, and having the freedom to learn whenever and wherever using TikTok. Well, in the other hand, there were 20% and 3% of the respondents who disagreed and strongly disagreed. From the interview, they explained that they didn't often utilize TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation intentionally, so they just learn the vocabulary and pronunciation when the videos or the content appear on the screen. So when it's not the vocabulary and pronunciation videos are not appeared on the screen, they they don't try to ban it, so they think that they really having the control or and setting the goal in learning vocabulary and pronunciation on TikTok. However, moreover, they stated that they easily got bothered by the entertaining videos on TikTok. Well, for the learning decisions, there were 67% and 80%, 18% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed in terms of having the authority to choose the materials on TikTok, having the authority to decide the duration of learning, having the authority to decide the way of learning. However, there were 14% and 1% of respondents who disagreed and strongly disagreed. From the interview, the reasons were quite the same with the previous indicator. They stated that they just relied on the TikTok algorithm. So if the videos are what the TikTok present the content for them, they just they watch it. So if the vocabulary and pronunciation videos appear on the screen, they watch it and they learn. But if the videos are not appear, they don't learn from it. So they from that they think that they do not really have the authority in choosing the material, deciding the duration, and deciding the way of learning. The next indicator, motivation to learn vocabulary and pronunciation. There was 75% and 20% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed that learning vocabulary and pronunciation on TikTok increased their motivation in terms of eagerness, interest, engagement, and enjoyment. However, there were only 5% of the respondents who disagreed. The respondents who disagreed have slightly the same with the previous reason, have the same reason with the previous indicator, where yeah, they just relied and don't watch the vocabulary or pronunciation learning videos on TikTok intentionally. However, for those respondents who agreed and strongly agreed, they stated that the videos on TikTok are covered or presented creatively and interestingly that increase their motivation, makes them want to learn more and more. The next indicator, vocabulary mastery. There were 62% and 28% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed in terms of learning the spelling, meaning, and the use of words correctly on TikTok, and they be able to learn how to pronounce the words, able to learn vocabulary from basic to advanced on TikTok, and learning vocabulary on TikTok improve their listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. However, there were only 9% and 1% of respondents who disagreed and strongly disagreed. The last indicator for the first question, the pronunciation mastery. There were 67% and 25% of respondents who agreed and strongly agreed in terms of the ability to pronounce English sounds, ability to place stress on words correctly, then able to learn rhythm and intonation on TikTok, and learning the pronunciation on TikTok improve their speaking skills, and they able to learn pronunciation from simple up to complex words. From the interview, the reason for the pronunciation mastery and vocabulary mastery are the same. They stated that on TikTok, there are many content creators who use English, especially foreign content creators, the native speaker. So from the, although they produce a video which are not English or vocabulary, which are not vocabulary or pronunciation learning videos, they can still learn the vocabulary and pronunciation from the speakers, since they are the foreign content creators who are fluently speaking in English. Now to answer for the second research question, how EFL students use TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation. From the questionnaire to learn the vocabulary, the respondents looking for the videos which contain vocabulary learning, and then looking the content creators who use English in the videos, though the content creators do not produce vocabulary learning videos, they still looking for them because they perceive that they still can learn the vocabulary from their content. Then in the learning process, they watching and absorbing the meaning of words from the video. They watch the videos carefully and try to understand the content. And when they watch the videos from the content creators who are not produce the vocabulary learning videos, they just pay attention to it. And when they find an unfamiliar words or difficult words which they don't understand, they try to find the meaning on dictionary, and then they jot it down the unfamiliar words on their note or on their phone. And for the pronunciation learning, the respondents explained that they try to find the videos which discuss pronunciation, accent, and conversation. And also the same with the vocabulary, they also try to find the content creators who use English in the video. Now, in the process, they watch and listen carefully to the speakers. They try to pay attention to the speaker's pronunciation and even pay attention to the lip movements so they could imitate the pronunciation precisely. Moreover, utilizing the TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation independently, the respondent described that they utilize the features of TikTok such as Saf, Duet, and Like videos. They use the Duet tools to practice their pronunciation, and also for the Saf and Like features, they use it because if they want to watch again the video, they just need to open the video on their phone, or they just need to open the like section on the TikTok's account. In conclusion, the findings showed that the EFL students perceived positively the use of TikTok to enhance vocabulary and pronunciation in autonomous learning in terms of the ease of use, pace of learning, learning decision, learning motivation, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation mastery. In addition, EFL students also utilize TikTok to learn vocabulary and pronunciation independently by finding the vocabulary and pronunciation learning videos, finding the content creators who use English in their videos, and then they jotted down the unfamiliar words and imitated the pronunciation of the speaker. Well, this is the end of my presentation. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John, for giving us such informative and interesting presentation. Now, if the audience have any question, please raise your hand or put it down in the chat box of the Zoom. Okay, we have Miss Irene. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Aldila. So hello, John, and also Bu Mandi, Hinda. Interesting topic that you bring up here about using TikTok for learning English. My question is, I'd like to know whether the student choose the video themselves or the teacher or lecturer choose for them. And what is it? During the I don't really open TikTok actually. Maybe I'm left behind, but I'd like to try it. When using the I don't know what do you call it, stitch the video. Is it like that? Maybe
Yes,
John knows.
please.
Yeah. It seems like you know a lot about TikTok, eh?
Yeah.
So the students just imitate the speaker, is it like that? And that's how they learn the vocabulary. Is it like that? How is the process of learning happen using the TikTok? Would you explain more? Thank you.
Okay. So the context of the learning vocabulary and pronunciation using TikTok here is for the independent learning. So the respondents or the AFL students choose the videos with themselves without any interfere from lecturer or from their friends. They just choose the materials or the videos by themselves. And for the learning process in the questionnaire, they explain that yeah, for the vocabulary, they will they search the content, maybe the using the keywords such as like antonym versus antonym vocabulary or synonym vocabulary, and also they try to look for the content creators. So because there are so many content creators who talk about language learning on TikTok, especially from the foreign content creators, which is for some time better for us to learn the pronunciation, right? And, so they just try to find the vocabulary link videos by searching it in the search engine by typing the keywords what kind of the maybe what kind of vocabulary they want to learn, and then they just search the content creators or search the content creators username, and then they even stated that they'll follow the content creators to if they want to get their contents, they just need to click the following content. So where TikToks present that for the FYP of TikTok, your screen, there were a following section where in the following section we presents the videos, the contents from the users you followed. So if they followed the English language learning content creator, and when they click the following section, yeah, they can easily access the video from the content creators. And for the pronunciation in the questionnaire, they stated that they watch the content creators. Maybe the content is not pronunciation learning videos, but maybe just like a content daily in my life, or a reaction about something, or a food vlogger. Yeah, but they explain that they more engaged to learn from the content, which is it is not because it is not boring. They studied on the questionnaire, and they pay attention to the videos, and then yeah, if there is a unfamiliar pronunciation, perhaps they will try to how to say it, to replay in that part, and then they'll pay attention to the speakers pronunciation, even for the lip movements, so they could imitate the pronunciation.
Thank you. That is very inspiring. And I'd like to try it in my class also. Maybe one more questions. Whether there should be any theme or maybe criteria about the video that the student have to look in TikTok, because there will be various topic talk. Like, do you think it's better to give one topic or criteria for the students to choose the TikTok video?
For me, I think as long as the videos use English or contain English language, it's okay for the students, because yeah, because I believe in the freedom of learning. So in the context of independent learning, yeah, they're free to choose the videos, to choose the materials, as long as it's still in English language.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Miss Iran, for the question.
Okay, thank you for the question and the answer.
May I add something?
Oh, sure.
Sorry. So can I just add to what John has answered to Irene's question? In the context of autonomous learning, like what John has mentioned, it is actually up to the learner to find their own resources. So it depends really on their needs. So we cannot really suggest it what things they need to learn, because probably it is not what they needed. So they are free to, like enrich themselves with whatever they need. Yeah, I think that's all my addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bu Pindra, for the app. Okay. Before I close the session, I personally think that TikTok is also interesting. As far as I know, TikTok have this kind of algorithm that makes the application shows us the suggested videos. So once the students click one video to learn about vocabularies, the next day they will see more videos about the same content. So I think it's important to make the first step, like Mr. John said, they choose the first video to learn, and then they will automatically see a lot of videos that have similar content in the future. Okay, so I'd like to thank to the speaker for the informative presentation and all participants for the very active participation. Thank you. I will take it back to Miss Misela.
All right, thank you, Miss Aldila. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have finished our parallel session. After this, please kindly leave this breakout room and return to the main session for the plenary session. Thank you very much for the fruitful discussion and have a great day. Thank you.